See? Fully faded.
Rick, that's your bishop. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. Call meeting to order the regular session of the town council. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please remain standing for invocation. Bishop Jerry Olson, come on forward. Welcome.
Our Father in heaven, we are so very grateful for this opportunity that we have to meet together this evening. We're grateful for this great country that we live in, for the freedoms that we have to enjoy. We're grateful and give you thanks for our good mayor and those that faithfully serve with him. We pray for all of those that serve within this community. And we would ask for a very special blessing this evening to be with those that will participate and will speak, that all may have a open mind and an open heart. We might have compassion and sensitivity to those issues that are most important to our community. We pray for the youth of this community and for the men and women who might be troubled or afflicted in any way. And we pray for the men and women who faithfully serve in the armed forces from our community, wherever they might be throughout this great country and throughout the world. Lord God, please bless them, guide them, and protect them, and bring them home safely. We give thee thanks now for this great opportunity. Humbly we pray, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bishop Olson from Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Roll call, please.
Mayor Schlum?
Here.
Councilmember Dickey? Here. Vice Mayor Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Elke?
Here.
Councilmember Cantino?
Here.
Councilmember Hanson? Here. Councilmember Lachey? Here.
All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. It is a little ways off, but we won't have a meeting until October 7th. October 5th is a great day, Councilmember Cantino's birthday. Oh, so I know it's a little ways off. You can have a bottle of water. Thank you. You're welcome. But happy birthday. Have a good day, Ann. Thank you. On the 5th of October. Boy, it seems like a long way off, but it's just around the corner. I now have a proclamation to read, actually two of them. The first one is proclaiming September 27th, Family Day, a day to eat your children. No, a day to eat dinner with your children. It reads, whereas the use of illegal and prescription drugs and the abuse of alcohol and nicotine constitutes the greatest threat to the well-being of America's children. And whereas parents who are engaged in their children's lives are less likely to have children who abuse substances. And whereas the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Scottsdale McKee branch will be holding National Kids Day on Saturday, September 25th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. to celebrate kids and families in Fountain Hills. Whereas family dinners have long constituted a substantial pillar of family life in America, whereas frequent family dining in association with lower rates of teen smoking, drinking, illegal drug use, and prescription drug abuse. And now, therefore, I, Jay Schlum, Mayor of the Town of Fountain Hills, do hereby proclaim Monday, September 27, 2010, as Family Day, a day to eat dinner with your children, and urge all citizens to recognize and participate in its observance.
What are you going to make?
I'm not going to cook, I don't think. My wife is a terrific cook. The next proclamation is proclaiming September 17th, 2010 as Constitution Commemoration Day. And I was able to read this before the Daughters of American Revolution at their luncheon this weekend. They have a great program with our youth there, reading the importance of some of the founders of our country It was a nice event. Whereas the Constitution of the United States was signed 223 years ago on September 17th, 1787, and to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and the posterity. And whereas this cherished document, born of spirited contention and gracious compromise, provides a natural gateway to that study of our past which may enlighten the charting of our future, and whereas we all share the blessings granted by the Constitution and the responsibility of ensuring that those blessings fall upon all our people, and whereas as we mark the 223rd anniversary of our nation's founding document, we celebrate the effort, dedication, and wisdom of our founders and the blessings of liberty that resulted from their labors. Now therefore, I, Jay Schlum, Mayor of the Town of Fountain Hills, do hereby proclaim September 17th, 2010 as Constitution Commemoration Day, and heartily encourage the citizens of Fountain Hills to study the duties of citizenship and renew their dedication to the principles of the Constitution. And tonight, they are celebrating this in Scottsdale, thanks to the Scottsdale Area Association of Realtors, which John Packham is here, the government liaison. They've put together a great event year after year in Scottsdale, and I believe former Mayor Wally Nichols is there representing us there tonight. Children from Fountain Hills Elementary Schools have dominated competitions there with Constitution remembrance through art and through words. So they're there this evening celebrating and commemorating the Constitution of our country. So those are the proclamations tonight. Now we'll move on to public appearances and presentations. Our only one tonight is by Chair Jerry Butler, Greening of Downtown Committee, regarding the progress of the landscaping of Fountain Park. So welcome, Mr. Butler.
Thank you.
Is the microphone on? I need to make sure that's on.
Just like at home, it takes a woman to make it work. Now I can say thank you because you can hear me. What I'd like to do tonight is to bring you up to date on where we are with the greening of downtown and seek your acceptance of some of the projects that we have proposed for the month of October. The project itself is still very much the public-private cooperative that we started out with. The four groups, the Town of Fountain Hills, and the efforts that have been presented or provided thus far, and special attention should go to our park department. They have been phenomenal. Mark Mayer, Don Clark, the staff have really interacted with the greening committee and have helped us move forward in a very, very quick manner. The Chamber of Commerce is another one of our groups. The Fountain Hills Cultural and Civic Association, which is the funnel that all donations have been going through, and it's the agency that allows this effort to be a tax-deductible donation to promote the project. And of course, in the greening of downtown, the volunteer committee itself, and with me tonight are several members of the committee, Carol Coates, Charlotte McCluskey, and an ex-official member, my wife. So I do have the moral support tonight for this. I think it's also appropriate to say maybe there should be a fifth group added to this list of public-private cooperation, and that is our sanitary district. If you don't know it, walking around the park, you don't see a lot of things, but the minute you want to plant a tree or a bush, some things are discovered. And our park has got a number of sanitary sewer lines and fiber optic cables in it, and the sanitary district has been extremely cooperative in locating those so that we can move on with our plan. When I was last here in March, I promised to come back in October with an update. I'm here a month early, and before I got here in June, a member of our greening committee was here to present an update to the council. And it primarily at that time had to do with the budget processes that the town was going through, staff reductions,
and the impact that that might have on the greening project. The committee had been relying very extensively on the staff, and we were concerned that maybe we would have to go to an outside contractor to pull this off. As it turns out, I'm pleased to report that we have worked everything out with the staff, and things are working very, very smoothly. Since I was here in March, we did plant 40 trees for Arbor Day of this year. Near the performance pad, I think we planted 8 varieties of the low water trees. We've also, in the 8 months since we started this program, have raised $42,000 from private individuals, clubs, and organizations. And I'm happy to report we were just notified a week ago that we are now the recipient of a $15,000 grant from the State Forestry Division. Since March, we've also been recognized as an official Arizona Centennial Legacy Project. We think that this will bring lots of attention to our park and everything that it has to offer. Our objectives have not changed since the beginning. Our effort is to expand the shade areas and improve the overall ambiance of the park and the downtown area. Such things as making the park benches more usable more comfortable is one of our objectives. To attract residents, visitors, and investors to our downtown area is another objective. And of course, we'd like to landscape the vacant lots until such time as they are developed. Specifically, the planned activities for October are 4 projects. We would like to plant 18 trees east of the Veterans Memorial. That'll be between the memorial wall and the spillway for the lake. This layout has been designed by Swaback, the firm that has also done the master plan for trees and landscaping in Fountain Park itself. We would then like to develop 2 gardens, one a low water demonstration garden and another a wildflower garden. The low water demonstration, both gardens have been designed by Four Peaks Landscape Architects. Susan Jones is the landscape architect, and Maggie Thomas, who has been our landscape consultant for these 2 projects. On October 23rd, which is the Make a Difference Day, we have been promised from Target, Ace Hardware, and Starbucks that 20 volunteers will be provided to help us with the plantings on that day. The one area that is going to be new to the council, and that has to do with the 4th item on my list, which are the commemorative columns. When we began this project, I think we showed you that we would have stainless steel leaves that would be to recognize those who have donated $200 to $500. And we first talked about putting them in a sidewalk someplace. Then we got worried about the heat of stainless steel, walking on it, barefooted, etc. So then we started to move up to a wall and say, how can we show or demonstrate the leaves on a wall? And we looked all over the park. We did a lot of research. And so this thing has gone through many, many iterations. It's evolved, and it's continuing to evolve. But where we are tonight is to recommend and suggest a commemorative column that will make it very, very unique to Fountain Hills. We have looked all over. A lot of research has been done. We've been down to Tempe Town Lake. They have a tree down there that's unique in itself. But we got together with the Public Art Committee, and we came up with the column. And we've also worked with Stan Connick, a local architect who's prepared the design of it. We're working with Steelcrest as a metal manufacturer, also the ones that will be providing the stainless steel leaves. And what I'm about ready to show you is still not the final version, but it's the best that we have available to give you a flavor as to what we would like to do. Before I get there, this is a diagram that would show you where the Arbor Day project was at the north end of the park, the Veterans Memorial Project, and the 2 gardens, and where the commemorative columns are suggested at the south end of the park. The Wildflower Garden will be near the muraled wall around the pump house. The demonstration garden will be south of the sidewalk in that same area, but between the curb and the sidewalk. And the commemorative column, we're asking or suggesting it be placed at the intersection of two sidewalks immediately north of the splash park. The demonstration garden, we believe right now, well, what's in that area right now is a sea of granite. There is no vegetation whatsoever. It's flat. The plans that we have prepared will call for, in a combination of the demonstration garden that will enhance what we think is an eyesore, and then the wildflower garden, there will be some 190 plants are proposed, 100 ground cover plants, 20 cactus, 24 tons of boulders, and upwards of 50 cubic yards of soil need to be brought in to change it from a flat piece of ground to something with some mounds that gives it character and an opportunity to walk through and to look at the low water vegetation that is in concert with the town's low water ordinance. The column itself is approximately 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet in dimension and 8 feet tall. What's shown here will have 3 sides that will have the stainless steel leaves on them. The 4th side will be reserved for the plaques for those that have donated $1,000 or more to the program. With the layout that we're currently working with, and it doesn't exactly agree with this slide or this sketch, is we can get 84 leaves on this column. We have sold 53 of them already. So very likely we're going to need a second column very soon. The reason this is being brought to you now is we've heard a number of people say, yes, we support the greening of downtown, and we would like to donate, but we want to know first, where will our leaf be shown? So instead of waiting to the end of the project like the committee had originally proposed to do, we decided, well, the people with the money are controlling this program, we better move it up. So we have moved it up, and this is what we're proposing. At the bottom would be the greening logo that's on the front of the greening of downtown shirts. We have looked at the safety issues. You might say, well, why did we move from this to this to this? Well, we need to eliminate large openings in this column. We need to eliminate the sharpness of the leaves. We were also concerned about vandalism. It was our understanding that these leaves, with your name on them, will be cut all the way through the leaf. However, it's still possible to get in with a key and bend the lettering around. So to minimize that, what we're proposing is that we will have a piece of steel behind every leaf, and the leaf will actually be attached to a piece of steel just like the rest of the column will be. The column itself basically will be of a rusted steel appearance. It'll have a clear coat on it. And if you'd like to know what that looks like, if you go over to the community center and look at the Arrow piece of artwork, it will be very, very similar to that. It will not rub off on you, the rust, because of the clear coat. So with that brown as a overall makeup for the column itself, we believe the stainless steel leaves will be very, very attractive on there. And being able to read your name will be the same way, because now it'll be backed by a brown steel. What we're also suggesting is that we would like to put some LED solar-powered lights on each side of the column at the top that will wash down, so that if you're walking by in the early evening hours, you'll be able to see the column. There was another concern about birds roosting in the column. And what we're looking into is how we come up with some solar-powered wind chime that might hang in the center. just to be a distraction. Our attitude on this project has not wavered. We believe we can continue to put this together. And for more information, for those that may be watching at home, there's information available to you on the Fountain Hills CCA organization website. And if you have any questions, comments to make, you can direct them to fhgreening@cox.net. It's very important that we keep the dialogue going. When we started this, one of the suggestions was that no idea would be discarded. And so this project has evolved from one idea to another idea to a better idea. So with that, I'm going to stop for your questions, and hopefully I'll have the answers. If not, I'm going to turn around to my friends and see if they will support me on this. So again, there are 4 projects, the 18 trees, the 2 gardens, and permission to install a commemorative column or 2 in the park. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Nice presentation. Any questions from council? Comments? Councilmember Elke?
Thank you very much, Jerry, and I think it's remarkable that you've been able to do all this with private donations and not any specific funds from the town. So thank you very much for everything that you've done. My one question for you is the anticipated second column. Where would that go in relation to this one, or is that just, would it be in a completely different area, or in and around this particular column?
It will be, our desire is to have it in the same area. And if we're successful and people like the column idea and the donations come in and we need more than 2 columns, we believe we have room for 3 to 5 columns in the same immediate area. So one could play on the other and be a very attractive art piece in the park.
Councilmember Hanson?
Thanks, Jerry. On your 4 projects for October, do you have an idea of the completion time for those projects, if they kick off in October?
Because of the Forestry Division grant, we were told that we couldn't begin until October 1 and have their grant money applied to the project. So we're still waiting on paperwork. As far as the completion, we want to be out of the area no later than November 5th. The Veterans Memorial Celebration observance is November 11th. We want to have the site cleaned up so that everyone can go to the memorial.
Mark will be real happy that he doesn't have to clean the weeds out of that one area anymore.
Good, thank you. Any other comments or questions? I think it looks terrific, Jerry. The ideas are awesome that come out of the folks involved in the greening. They're just, and I know there are so many others that we haven't got close to funding, but there are so many other great ideas too, not to mention just more trees. But you've done a great job, and this looks terrific. Good presentation as far as helping us understand clearly where things are going and when, and good luck with the columns.
Well, again, those came as a result of working with the Public Art Committee, so this has been a really true community effort.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the best parts of it. Councilmember Dickey.
Mayor, on the leaves that we were able to choose, will we still have those, or are they going to all be the same?
Great question. We started out, I think, showing the public 4 different leaves, and the committee, have narrowed it down to there will be 1 leaf style, 4 different sizes, and the reason for it is we had to start removing some of the sharp edges that were on the earlier leaves. So again, it's an evolution. It's still in process, and I'm sure at the end it'll still look like a leaf, but it's going to have more rounded edges to it. They won't be quite as sharp.
And an 80-foot column is what you're proposing?
8 foot, I hope.
Make sure everybody's listening. Very good. Thank you very much, Jerry.
Does that mean that we have the approval to proceed with this? If I hear no negative comments?
I'll just ask council members to follow up with Jerry, but we don't have anything on here that's looking for an answer on our agenda, but I will encourage the council members to reach out to you directly. should they have any concerns.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, move on to call to the public. Any speaker cards in this item?
No, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Move to the consent agenda and look for a motion to approve as listed.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dickey? Aye. Mayor Schlum?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Brown?
Aye.
Councilmember Elke?
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson?
Aye.
Councilmember Cantino?
Aye.
Councilmember Lachey?
Aye.
Mayor 7-0.
All right, thank you. Move to the regular agenda and item number 9. First item on the regular agenda, consideration resolution 2010-36, approving intergovernmental agreement with the Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation relating to Proposition 202 funding. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hold on, excuse me. Councilmember Dickey?
It's probably not necessary, but I'm going to abstain from this vote.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The resolution before the council tonight authorizes the distribution of funds contributed by the Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation to community organizations. Proposition 202, known as the Indian Gaming Preservation and Self-Reliance Act, was on the ballot in Arizona in November 2002 and was approved by the voters. The proposition provides for a tribe to contribute money to organizations of their choosing for services that benefit the general public, including public safety, mitigation of impacts on gaming, and promotion of commerce and economic development. The terms of the proposition require that tribal contributions be passed through a municipality, which is why an intergovernmental agreement with Fort McDowell Nation is presented to the town council tonight to disperse the funds. Fort McDowell submitted to the town a check for $152,332 for their 2010 contributions. Resolution 2010-36 authorizes the distribution for the following agencies: Fountain Hills School District, $86,480. Fountain Hills Chamber of Commerce for Tourism, $52,000. The River of Time Museum, $10,852. Liberty Wildlife Rehab, $2,000, and the Fountain Hills Community Theater, $1,000. Fort McDowell has made contributions in support of local groups since 2003. Some of past recipients of Proposition 202 funding are Boys and Girls Club, the Food Bank, the Chamber, the Fountain Hills School District, and others. Applying for these grants has been anticipated, and budget is available in the Fountain Hills approved fiscal year 11 budget through miscellaneous grant requests. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council has.
Thank you, Julie. Well, first, we can get a motion on this item.
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 2010-36.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or comments for Julie? All right, thanks, Julie. I believe there were quite a few requests this year that flowed through over to Fort McDowell, and these requests, as you mentioned, apply to the parameters in which that they're giving these grants towards, which are for particular specified reasons as per that pact that you went over. But in total, $152,000 coming from Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation to organizations within Fountain Hills.
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, good. Anything? Very good. We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor 6-0.
Thank you. Welcome back. Item number 10, consideration resolution 2010-37, authorizing the third amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with RPTA relating to bus transit service. Rick.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We're bringing this to you as an amendment to include some language that has not been in the agreement before. This is mandated by state law, I believe, and it includes the E-Verify language that a lot of agreements carry now. And if there's any other specific questions at this time, I'd be happy to ask for this. This is mostly a house cleaning issue related to this particular agreement.
All right, thank you. Let me see, let me look for a motion first.
Move to approve Resolution 2010-37.
And a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or comments on this item? Good, thank you, Rick, on that presentation. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
I should have asked. No speaker cards on that item, right? Item number 11, consideration of temporary use permit for Art on the Avenue Farmers Market repeating outdoor sales events for the fall 2010. Good evening, Gene.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, council members. The Art on the Avenue and Farmers Market is back again for the fall season. This item is a request to consider a temporary use permit, TU 2010-06, for these repeating outdoor retail sales events on the town median on the Avenue of the Fountains. Charlotte McCluskey and Monique Leitner are coordinating their events, as they did last year, and combining them under one temporary use permit. They're requesting approval for these events through the end of 2010. These events will be held from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. every Thursday, beginning October 7th through December 30th of this year. The two exceptions will be the week of the Fountain Festival of Arts and Crafts on November 11th and November 25th, Thanksgiving. As was done in the spring, the Art on the Avenue will occupy the median east of Verde River Drive, and the farmers markets will occur on the median west of Verde River Drive. The request was posted and notices mailed. There were no inquiries or objections received. As you know, Section 5.16.B.4 of the zoning ordinance allows for such repeating events. The request complies with all aspects of the regulation, and repeating events such as these require town council approval. Please note that the ordinance only allows dates for repeating events to be designated for any calendar year on the temporary use permit. So it's highly likely that these two groups will submit another temporary use permit later this year for early next year. Staff recommends that the town council approve this permit request. Thank you. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have. And also Charlotte McCluskey, the applicant, would like to say a few words. Is that all right with you?
Yes, Gene. Thank you. Charlotte. Good evening.
Everybody, good evening, Council, Mayor. We're crazy enough to do this again, and I'd like to bring you up to date with some of the things that are happening. We talked about last year opening up some space because we have plenty of room on the east end of the Avenue of Fountains, opening up some space for nonprofit organizations in town and some of our school organizations to interact with the public and perhaps present fundraising opportunities. So I contacted the school district, and we're going to have a series of art and music events starting on the second Thursday. They're not going to be ready by the 7th, but starting on the second Thursday in October, we have had some nice response from the art groups, the music groups at school, and then are in the process of actually organizing exhibition space so that student artists can sell their wares if they choose to do so. We are formally putting out a proposal to all of the nonprofit organizations to also let them be able to schedule to sell tickets to events or just promote knowledge and information about the various kinds of cultural activities that we have in town. We have plenty of room for that. So we're looking forward to expanding. We have been getting, my fax machine has been about melted today because we've been getting applications, and everybody that we worked so hard to get them to get their sales permits from Fountain Hills are very proud of themselves because now they only have to re-up, and so that's moving along well too. So I appreciate your support. We've also taken over the handling of the trash and the garbage, so you don't have to use any town employees to take trash cans down and pick them up. So we're looking forward to a good year and have had a fair amount of inquiries from across the valley as to whether we were going to expand and continue it. So we're looking forward to it, and thank you very much for your support.
Thank you, Charlotte. Let's see if we have any questions. First, we'll look for motion to approve temporary use permit TU 2010-06 for the Art on the Avenue Farmers Market repeating outdoor resale sales events for the fall 2010, subject to the stipulations outlined in the staff report.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Hanson.
Jean, I think this would probably be for you, or Andrew. When you said that they would have to apply all over again in the next calendar year, is there any provision that it could just, there could somehow be an extension, so they wouldn't have to go through the whole process when it's really a continuation of one activity? Or is that something that we could look at modifying?
Mr. Mayor, I think that the easiest answer is it would take a code amendment to get there. I don't know that I really want to pull the pin on that grenade just yet, but we certainly could consider a process by where you would do an extension rather than having to re-up, but they're almost treated as extensions as far as I know. We're trying to streamline our process, so hopefully that will get wrapped up in it as well.
So maybe it could be done on a seasonal basis rather than a calendar year basis somehow.
It's certainly something we could consider. That provision of the code hasn't been readdressed for a few years, so if we want to go back and take a look at it at the same time we're doing the other special events, it's certainly timely.
Great, thanks.
That's a good idea. So consider the temporary use at the same time we do the events, which we were talking about, those ones that recur all the time, just to make it a lot easier.
Yes.
That would be great. Anyone from the public on this item?
No, sir.
Any other comments or questions for Charlotte or Jean? All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Keep up the good work. We'll talk about items 12 and 13 together, but right now I'll open up the public hearing. Any speaker cards on 12 or 13?
No, sir.
And this continuance of public hearing for ordinance 10-04 to the October 7, 2010 Town Council meeting. Text amendment to Fountain Hills zoning ordinance. If adopted, the amendment will create a new Chapter 22, production housing regulations, which will provide minimum requirements for developing production or tract housing. Case Z 2010-01. And item 13 is continuance of the consideration of ordinance 10-04 of the October 7, 2010 meeting. Welcome. Bob?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Staff is requesting that this be extended to the October 7th meeting, just so that we can finish some final wordsmithing on the actual ordinance itself.
Very good. Any questions or comments from council? Andrew, anything?
Just as long as we make sure, Mayor, that the motion is to continue the public hearing and the ordinance until the date specific, so that we don't have to re-advertise.
Thank you. Councilmember Leger.
Andrew, is it appropriate to provide some input at this time, or do we have to wait until?
No,
In that you're still working on it, one of the things I would suggest is in your title in Chapter 22, it says Production Housing Regulations. Some people have brought to my attention when they see production housing, they think of mobile homes. And I know that in your definitions, you define production housing as tract developments. So perhaps you can consider that in your title. And I won't put the words out there, but it would be something like production-tract housing development regulations, so that it's a little clearer. It's just for suggestion as you work through your draft and move it forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Do you have something, Councilmember Diggy? No? Oh, you almost had your hand up there.
Well, you want to make a motion? Do I make a motion?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Brown.
Is it possible we could move that to October 21st opposed to October 7th?
as long as it's a date specific, we don't really have an issue with either one.
As far as advertising and all that. Would that be okay with the remainder of the council? Any thoughts on the date itself before we hear the motion? All right, Leah, feel free to make a motion.
Okay. Mayor, move to continue public hearings and adoption of the proposed zoning ordinance text amendment, adopting a new chapter 22-production, should I say, no, I'll just say production housing regulations to the October 21, 2010 regular town council meeting.
There's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor 7-0.
All right, items continued to October 21st. Thank you, Bob. Item 14, consideration of authorizing the transfer of appropriation from the general fund contingency line item to the fire department equipment line item in the amount of $19,518.24 to purchase 15 automatic external defibrillators, AEDs. Calling on Randy on this item. Welcome, Randy. How are you doing?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Doing fine, thank you.
Good.
As you recall, at the August 5th meeting, you guys approved the moving forward with the purchase of the 15 AEDs. And what we're asking for is that transfer from the general fund contingency line item to the fire department's equipment line. And we'd like to purchase these 15 AEDs from the Cardiac Science Corporation based on a competitive bid of $19,518.24.
Thank you very much. Can we get a motion on this item?
Mayor,
Councilmember Dickey?
move to approve the transfer of appropriation from the general fund contingency line item to the fire department equipment line item in the amount of $19,518.24 to purchase 15 automatic external defibrillators, AEDs.
Second.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone from the public on this item?
No, sir.
Any questions or concerns? Councilmember Leger?
Mayor, if Randy could approach the podium.
Randy?
Randy, I'm just curious, Cardiac Science Corporation, have we worked with them before? Are we familiar with their product and service? You feel comfortable with them? Any background on them you could share with us?
Mayor and Councilmember Leger, that's correct. We do have the majority of our AEDs are purchased from Cardiac Science, so that will be it'll be nice to have the same units that we already currently have.
That's what I was thinking. Thank you, Randy. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I also mention thanks again to Phil Gaziano for keeping this top of mind and helping us through this process, and also for finding some funding here and there. Appreciate the public always being involved in helping with the cost element. We got a motion and a second. Any other comments? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
Thank you very much. Item 15, discussion with possible direction to staff regarding fireworks ordinance. Welcome, Randy.
Mayor, with your permission, I'd like to just do a brief opening statement regarding the safety of consumer fireworks or lack thereof. These numbers I'm going to give you come from the National Fire Protection Association as well as the CDC. On Independence Day in a typical year, far more U.S. fires are reported than any other day, and fireworks account for more than half of those fires. In 2008, fireworks caused an estimated 22,500 reported fires, including 1,400 structure fires, which 900 of those were house fires, 500 vehicle fires, and 20,600 outside and other fires. And these fires resulted in a civilian death, 40 civilian injuries, and $42 million in direct property damage. And in that same year, U.S. hospital emergency rooms treated an estimated 7,000 people for firework injuries, and that included 7 deaths. And about 32% of those injuries come from the type of consumer fireworks that we'll be talking about this evening. House Bill 2246 is as you know, the new law that goes into effect on December 1st that allows Arizonans to buy and use consumer fireworks. And on a more local level, as you know, wildfire is a big public safety concern of ours in the fire department. We work very hard to maintain our washes. We work very hard to maintain defensible spaces around homes. We have a very large wildland interface with our properties, and so it causes us a lot of concern. And frequently, you see the signs around town that fire danger is extreme or high. It's very rarely that you see a low. We have probably more interface than most communities have, and a lot of times the only thing that's really lacking is just an ignition source. And we feel that these fireworks provide that ignition source that concerns us greatly. Fortunately, in this bill that will become law, it allows the cities and towns to regulate the use, not the sale, but the use in our communities. And so this is our opportunity, we feel, to work on this code to bring this ordinance before you to get some direction from you on how you want to go. Our recommendation at this point is a complete ban on allowing the use of these, although we can affect the sale. I'll just briefly go through some of the highlights. And the framework for this ordinance comes from the Arizona League of Cities and Towns, and we just plugged in a lot of our things, and I'll kind of point out those things. You can see on there what the consumer fireworks definition is. If you have any questions, then I'll be happy to answer those. If you look at section 1.1-4, the posting of signs, one sign we're going to require is the use of fireworks except novelty items as defined by town code, including permissible consumer fireworks, is prohibited, if that's the direction that you choose to go. And another part of that sign would be consumer fireworks authorized for sale under state law may not be sold to persons under age 16. And those signs would have to be placed at a cash register and where the fireworks are displayed for sale. And then in section 1-6, liability for emergency responses, you would see that anybody that violated these provisions and caused damage would be liable for expenses of an emergency response that is required by such use, discharge, or ignition of these fireworks. So as I mentioned, Chief LaGreca and I in the fire department are recommending a complete ban on these things. But there are some provisions if you would like to make changes in there, and some of the things that were suggested as possible changes would be limited only to specific dates or special events, possibly certain hours of the day or night, or a prohibition on use in public parks or other public space, or a prohibition during times of high fire danger. So we look forward to completing this ordinance, and we look forward to getting your input on this. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions or whatever we need.
Thank you, Randy. Anyone from the public on this item?
No, Mayor.
All right, go for some questions here first before you understand what our motion might be. Right now, Randy, what is the prohibition of use today in Fountain Hills?
Right now, there's no consumer fireworks of any sort allowed. Display fireworks are allowed by permit only. Novelty items are allowed. The only change to this would be the consumer fireworks. And if you'd like a little bit of more information on that.
So I'm sorry, that we'd be adding a new definition, a definition that's not accounted for right now in the ordinance?
What we would do is we would be banning the use of consumer fireworks, which this new law will allow.
But today, those consumer fireworks are banned currently?
They're currently banned, but as of December 1st, they will be allowed in the state of Arizona, unless exempted by communities, cities, and towns.
The carve-outs that you have that we could consider, that you suggest we might consider adding if we choose any, are those carve-outs today in our ordinance?
No, those are just some suggestions of possibilities if you decided to go against the complete ban.
So right now, are all consumer, or what would be considered consumer fireworks currently banned from use in Fountain Hills all the time?
Right now they are, that's correct.
Okay. So we're considering expanding the use of consumer fireworks, essentially.
The state law will allow the use of consumer fireworks. This ordinance would ban those in our community.
Yeah, so if we don't do anything, consumer firework use will be expanded.
They'll be allowed in our town.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Elke.
I think this question is probably more directed to Andrew as far as legal is concerned. I'm looking at section 1-5. Let me find it here. Excuse me. 1-5C, and it relates to, it specifically states Maricopa County Sheriff Deputy or the town attorney may issue criminal complaints to enforce this article. Should that read town prosecutor as opposed to town attorney?
Mayor Shalom, Councilmember Elke, yes, I would greatly appreciate if Mr. Iacovino would have that task.
All right.
I'll be happy to do it if necessary, but I think Mark's more suited for it.
The other question I had was that if we look at the last section that deals with the penalty, section 1-7, at the very end there, it says the penalty for violating any prohibition or requirement imposed by this article is a Class 3 misdemeanor unless another penalty is specifically provided for. So I just want to make sure that it's, and looking at the draft here, I don't see anything that specifically jumps out at me, but I want to make sure that a civil penalty that we're discussing here, or a civil violation doesn't fall under the criminal penalty. Do you see what I mean? I just want to make sure there's no ambiguity there, that if somebody sells but doesn't ignite them, that they're not looking at a Class 3 misdemeanor when it's supposed to be just a civil penalty, because it seems like it's all-encompassing for this particular article.
Yeah, it appears that the league ordinance that was prepared was trying to be as broad brush as possible and is going to require some customization for us. What I think we will need to get some feedback from you all on is, do you want to treat them differently, that use of is a civil penalty, whereas sale that's prohibited otherwise is a criminal violation. The league has set it out as a Class 3 misdemeanor as well. If not specifically designated, then it'd be a Class 1 misdemeanor under our code. A number of those things would be good to get fleshed out tonight so we can give you an ordinance that's as complete as possible.
Right, because my concern, of course, is transferring some type of authority to the fire department or, I think, or the town attorney for that matter, for the ability to issue essentially what would amount to be a criminal complaint.
So that would be us discussing the prohibitive sale penalty and the prohibitive use penalties?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, what we're looking to do is to get feedback from you on those different items. Do you want to treat the use as any kind of a misdemeanor, whether it's Class 3 that the league has set out here, or whether it's Class 1, that's our standard provision, our default provision under the code, whether you want to have those be civil penalties. If we do, then we'll have to set up a civil process that allows for that. When we do that, we typically add what we like to call a recidivist provision, that if someone continually piles up civil penalties, that they'll then convert over to a criminal penalty that'll be issued by long-form complaint by the prosecutor. Any number of those things are open and available to you as long as you stay within the misdemeanor range.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Dickey.
Okay, thank you. So what is it now if, before the law went into effect and these things are not allowed here now, what happens? What do we have now in place?
Penalty-wise for prohibited sale or use?
I believe that right now we're silent as to the use of the fireworks because they're a state penalty. And so they've been banned by the state. We don't have the local provisions because we didn't have to worry about them before. This is going to give us the opportunity to create the carve-out if we want. But
I think it's looking for the state penalty.
Randy, do you know what it is right now? I don't know it off the top of my head. And I know that we can certainly parallel it if that's what we'd like to look for.
And just right now, there would be the penalty for consumer use would be eliminated, or the sale would be eliminated. Consumer, I mean, they're breaking up now consumer use versus other use. Councilman Maralki.
I think just to clarify, Randy, the state of Arizona, the specific state statute is expiring, or was it repealed prohibiting consumer fireworks? Do you know which it was?
Mayor, Councilmember Elke, what this is a change to state law. It is just allowing consumer fireworks.
So the state legislature said that it's okay essentially to have consumer fireworks, and then what we're looking to do then is to make it either a civil or a criminal penalty to do that in the town of Fountain Hills.
That's correct. They left it up to cities and towns to be able to tailor the ordinance to their own liking.
I thought the new state law was to allow sale. And use, but was sale was that something that wasn't opened up where it may not have been opened up previously?
Mayor and Council, the towns and cities can specifically affect the use, but not the sale. The sale cannot be tampered with.
But previously, the state law prohibited the sale of at least some consumer fireworks. And that, as far as what I'm reading in the staff report, that now some sales are now available to be made.
Opening the door.
Yeah, opening up sales along with the use of consumer now defined.
Consumer fireworks, that's correct.
Mr. Mayor, quick point of clarification on that. Before, the state law only defined fireworks, and they were all banned for consumer use. Now the state law breaks apart consumer and display fireworks into two separate definitions and then treats them from there. It's new language to a statute that's been around for a while.
How about sale? Was that previously allowed or not allowed?
Not allowed.
Not allowed.
Display was the only kind of fireworks that were allowed before, but they weren't even defined in here that way. It was just the sale of fireworks was banned. Only licensed companies were able to go and procure fireworks.
Good, gotcha, thank you. Very good. So the question is that now that the state law doesn't have penalties to something they now allow, we have to determine what to follow if we want to follow what was similarly done currently or last year. Any comments on that? Councilmember Elke, do you have a idea as far as the penalties regarded to use?
Previously, if I were to speculate, I'd probably say it was probably a Class 1 misdemeanor, I would imagine, by the state, but I don't know specifically. Randy, does this, now we're addressing the fact that this state legislature repealed or modified the law in some way to now allow consumer fireworks and says, okay, cities and towns, it's entirely up to you to do what you want to do. What you're proposing here as far as the amendments and modifications, does it only deal with the consumer fireworks, or is there other language in there as well?
Mayor and Councilmember Elke, that is correct. That only deals with the consumer fireworks. It does not talk about display fireworks. Those are still allowed by permit. Commercial operators can still come in and do their fireworks shows. That doesn't change at all. The little novelty items, the caps and those kind of things that were allowed before, those are still allowed. So this just deals with that narrow category of consumer fireworks.
Can you give us a few examples of what a consumer firework would be?
I'd be happy to. Right here's a little list of them. Ground and handheld sparkling devices, cylindrical fountains, cone fountains, illuminating torches, wheels, ground spinners, flitter sparklers, toy smoke devices, wire sparklers or dipsticks, multiple tube fireworks devices, and pyrotechnic articles.
So, if I may, the sparklers, I don't think I've held one for years and years, but the little sparklers that you light and they...
That's correct.
That would be something that would be prohibited then?
That's correct, that's correct. And they all have very nice little sounding names here, but a typical sparkler burns at about 1,200 degrees. You know, they cause a lot of damage and a lot of injuries every year. So just something to think about.
Andrew?
Clarification on the violation is currently a Class 3 misdemeanor, and so the state law violation will continue to carry that one. Very likely the reason why the league chose Class 3 is the criminal penalty as well.
Which is a maximum of 30 days in jail.
$400 or something.
Yeah, $500 fine, I think, and a couple years of probation, or year of probation.
Yeah.
So.
Councilmember Diggy?
So Mayor, so Andrew, if we made a motion, it would really be to ask staff to draw up an ordinance, and how much, I guess, flexibility would be in there, not about, like if we just said, okay, let's go ahead and put an ordinance together that would ban it. If people are uncomfortable with the violation part of this, would that still be open for discussion, or should we just go with the third, with the Class 3?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Dickey, we can have any number of different options on the violations. We can have a civil penalty provision. We can have the Class 3 misdemeanor be the standard penalty. Any number of things that we typically handle. I think most folks would be surprised to find out how many things are Class 1 misdemeanors in the town code. I think spitting on the sidewalks will get you $2,500 and 6 months in jail under the current code provision. So things like that are easy to deal with in terms of your comfort level, knowing that this will probably be a more serious violation than some things and a lesser violation than other things that carry a more harsh penalty just because of the default provision. But if the council's preference is a Class 3, we can make it Class 3. If it's a civil penalty, we can do that as well. But we'd like to get some direction from you tonight if you want a blend of the two, if you want just criminal, or if you want just civil, so we know how to draft it.
Councilmember Dickey?
Well, Mayor, I think, in my opinion, trying to stay with what exists now would be, and the way it's written, would be something that makes sense to me anyway. So if you wouldn't mind, I could make a motion.
No, Councilmember Hanson has a comment.
Oh, I'm agreeing. Excuse me.
Okay.
That's what I was going
All
to
right,
say.
good.
Okay.
Councilmember Dickey?
Then I would move to provide direction that staff proceed to finalize the fireworks ordinance that includes a ban on the use of consumer fireworks in the town of Fountain Hills.
Second.
All right, any other comments, discussion? There's no one from the public to be checked on that, right? All right, all in favor of, is everybody clear on that? The motion is, we're banning, which is consumer.
Not commercial.
Correct, consumer. Was there another comment or question down here? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mayor, 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Randy. Item 16, council discussion direction to the town manager. None there. Number 17, summary council request, report on recent activity by town manager.
Just a reminder to the council not to forget October 12th. We'll be able to spend some time with you in discussing a capital improvement plan, give you a preview of the audit, and also talk to you about some other items of interest. But that'll be an opportunity for us to really kick off the budget season with you. So keep that marked on your calendars. Also, letters of invitation will be going out with regard to our town and city collaboration and economic summit on January the 13th. And we're eager to find out what the interest level is among our neighboring communities and let you know how that process goes as well. So just know that we are moving forward on that initiative as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hanson.
If we could just keep it on the radar screen about the temporary use permit and modifying that.
As far as follow-ups from tonight's meeting to make sure we're tracking. Good. All right. Next item, adjournment. Anyone want to make a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
There you go. Woo-hoo. Question. We already have this draft ordinance. Is it up to the fire department to make a legal request for you to take it the rest of the way, or is that going to come from you?
No, you can make
Pretty good.
We'll
Make a legal request.
Yeah, Randy. We'll just move it. And we'll talk about it on Monday again, too. Okay. Good job, though.